Welcome to Source Not Found, the show about the worst versions of your favorite things. Every other week, we take an IP, franchise, or fandom and examine it solely through its sequels, spin-offs, and side projects. Basically, anything but the source material. My name is Bill Woodall, and I am the assortment of wonderful facial hair in this video game.
Oh my god, it's so good. And I'm Brandon June, and I want to be in the Tesla timeline. We're stuck here in the Edison timeline, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we need the Tesla timeline, something fierce.
Yeah, I mean, the Tesla timeline does have vampires and werewolves, but you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
I can deal with those.
Honestly, I think we could make it work.
Yeah. So we're doing vampires and werewolves a little bit. We got a little bit.
We're still on our Arthur grind. And in so doing, we are covering the video game from February 20th, 2015, Order, or The Order, 1886.
Mm-hmm.
Brando, what is this game?
What is this game? It is cinema. I think it's very indicative of the era in which it was released. We have sacrificed a lot of player agency for very pretty visuals and a lot of cinematics, and a very strong narrative and kind of limited gameplay. So it's kind of a linear, cinematic heavy cover shooter with QTEs, and it is set in Victorian London in a sort of like steampunk alternate reality where we have the Knights of the Round Table and we fight some werewolves and we see some vampires. We don't really fight any vampires.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how I feel about this stuff in just a second. And obviously, if you haven't joined us for an episode where we cover a video game, we cover video games with a little bit more structure than we cover other topics like movies and books and such. With video games, we have 5 criteria. We have narrative structure, gameplay, visuals, sound, and fun factor. Each one of those, we give a score out of 10. At the end of it, we have a score out of 100. That's how we score our video games.
And it's been a little while. I guess the last time was a vampire, right? Night Road. The
last time was Night Road, I think. It's been a couple months, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, before we dive in, you did cover how this game works. It is very linear, cover shooter, tons of quick time events, a lot of narrative heavy quote unquote gameplay. So let's jump right into narrative structure, I think. Because there's
it's the most interesting thing for me.
Agreed. So you kind of hinted at it. Like, we are looking at an 1800s, obviously 1886 alternate history in London during basically the Jack the Ripper series of murders. And the characters that we're focusing on are members of this order, and what the order is basically the remnants of the Knights of the Round Table. But they're not the knights that we know, right? Like, every time a knight dies, they recruit a new knight to take his name. Kind of like a James Bond situation, you know, like.
Yeah. And maybe I missed something. I was confused about this for a little while, or maybe I was like stuck on an idea where I thought for the longest time that, oh no, these are like, this is the Galahad, like this is the Galahad. And by using the Grail, he's been able to stay extant for this long. And like, I loved that idea. Maybe I was stuck on that idea because I loved it so much that like, oh, we have a few existing knights from the original Round Table that like in this game is called the Blackwater, but it's basically like the Grail.
Right. They have the Grail, and they use the Grail to like extend their lives in a supernatural way or whatever.
Yeah. And so I love this idea of like, wow, like they have that ability, but like still through the adventures they've been on, through the things that they've fought, one by one, they've all lost their lives, but we have this one last, like a few remnants of the original Round Table still extant here. We have the Galahad. And then to find out, like, yeah, as they Like they received the name of one of the original knights as a sort of like honorific, right?
Another great way of looking at it's a lot like Kingsman, the Kingsman movie.
Yeah.
Like, or Men in Black. I know that's
yeah.
It kind of works, right?
It does. And it should have been obvious to me at the beginning because, like, one of the first characters you meet is Igraine. And I was like, oh, Igraine. I know Igraine. We met Igraine, like the Duke's wife that, Uther used trickery to sleep with. And there's no way that was actually that Igraine. so I don't know. I was stuck on a stupid idea for a while.
I am curious if any of the members of the Order were actually some of the original knights. Like, because there is a Lord Chancellor who is like the eldest person there.
Yeah.
And he seems to be leading the table. But through the course of the game, we come to find out that there are other orders around the world. Kind of based under the same system of like mythical or legendary heroes and kings and queens and such. Which is very, very cool. I like that idea a lot better than it just being Knights of the Round. Like the idea that in Iran, there's, like an Enkidu and like just that's really, really cool to me.
It is. And we're going to get to the point, just to jump ahead very briefly, like the game ends very abruptly.
Oh, my God,
I feel like
does.
it's just getting going. And thinking about where the game could go from where it ends, like, Galahad or just Gray at that point, right? Yeah. Like,
the character we play,
places.
The character we play in the game is Grayson or Sir Galahad.
Yeah. Man, think of all the places he could go.
Yeah.
Right now that he's like on the run. Wow. If only we lived in the timeline where people liked and bought this game.
Man, you're not kidding. So, a very, very brief rundown of how the story actually flows, because this is a pretty short game.
Yeah, it is.
You are Grayson. You are in the Order, and you basically are on a 4-person team with Percival, Marquis de Lafayette, who is like a knight in training, and the Lady Igraine, who we assume is your lover.
I didn't assume that, and then I was told, so I just made a lot of dumb assumptions as I was playing. I didn't really pick up on the romantic angle. I thought we had a great like mentor-mentee sort of, like I know she's in the Order, but like we're sort of like the older, wiser, more experienced part of this duo. I mean, and we had that kind of thing going on.
At one point, she straight up tells him, "We deserve better than this, you and I. We can run away together." Like, that's literal dialogue in the game, my guy.
I was too busy assuming that Percival was the Percival.
Oh,
that,
fair.
I know and love. I was too busy being stuck on that dumb idea. I don't know.
I would have been fine with that. Sebastian Mallory being Percival.
I was reading chat or something. I was streaming this. Let's blame it on that. Streamer brain. I was,
Yeah, streamer brain.
It is a thing. Anyway.
So the Order protects basically the United Kingdom. They don't serve the Queen. They're not supposed to be serving anyone technically. They are just supposed to be serving like the sanctity of the kingdom, their country. And you find out that there is a rebel faction who is trying to do something. And within that rebel faction, there are also, surprisingly, lycans. Yes, my friends, werewolves. And
yeah. Did you see that coming? Did you know about the werewolves going in?
No fucking clue, man. Did not see it coming.
How'd you feel about that? Was it a fun surprise?
If it would have been used better, yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's how I feel about the vampires, because I had heard like hints about the werewolf stuff, I think. I didn't know that there were vampires as well. And so like the moment when you find a vampire, like I feel like, is it the first time when you're going through like the storage and you rip open
you're in Blackwall.
Like, yeah. It's like, oh shit, we got We got vampires too. And then just we don't really do anything with that.
So
but for a moment, I was excited.
Okay, I'm gonna get through the synopsis, and then I really want to go back to this. You basically find out as Gray that something stinks in the Order, and like you watch your mentor get killed, and then basically like his name shat on at his funeral or memorial service, and so you decide to take revenge best you can. Come to find out, the rebels aren't actually rebels.
Yeah. Your real enemy is fucking company.
Yeah.
United India Company.
Yeah.
Which, love a good evil company, because...
Not to mention the fact that you've got, like, you know, in Pirates of the Caribbean and in our own Edison history timeline, you've got the East India Trading Company, right? And the West India Trading Company, where this time it's one large conglomerate, which is a little terrifying. But come to find out, the United India Trading Company has fingers in the Order someplace. Like, they've got ears and power within the Order. And they are trying to ship vampires all over the world. And you are trying to not only uncover this secret, but then make sure that the Order is aware of the secret as well. Problem is, the Order doesn't give a shit. You are a traitor, you are a turncoat, and you are sentenced to death.
Which is where the game starts. We start, like, breaking out of our imprisonment, and then that serves as a sort of framing device for us to go back through the previous events.
Yeah,
and get
how
back
to get there.
Why. Yeah.
And so you go through, come to find out, one of your very trusted members of the Order, Agrain's brother, right? Is an elder Lycan. And the movie, it feels that way kind of. The video game ends with the Lord Chancellor of the Order showing up, saying that he knew his adopted son was a Lycan, gives you a gun, says that you are still exiled or excommunicated or whatever, and says, I can't kill my own son, you have to do it. And then he fucking walks away, and the game ends with you pulling the trigger on this kid.
Yeah. And it's just like you pull the trigger and it cuts to black, like Order 1886. And like, oh, I think they thought that was a much harder hitting decision and moment than it was, because that's a hell of a choice to just sort of like end with that.
I want to see a version of this story that the game begins with this decision and this putting down of this evil creature or whatever, and then you fast forward a couple of weeks and Galahad is, well, no longer Galahad, Gray is having to travel all over the world to different orders.
Yeah.
Like going to different places that have already received shipments of vampires and Lycans, have already been taken over by United India Trading Company. And all of a sudden you become kind of this transient rebel warlord almost.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds fucking cool. And instead, we got a prelude to something that could be cool.
I know it. Oh, it hurts. Because you, post credits, you get the scene of, like, Grayson looking out over now under martial law, like, chaotic London, and talking to Tesla on his headset. And it's like, you have like a hint of like, oh my God, like a Solid Snake, Grayson, Otacon, Tesla situation. And we're going to like maybe go globe hopping and like maybe even like, I was thinking like a BPRD kind of situation where like, okay, excommunicated, exiled, thought to be traitor Grayson has to go build this team of like specialists in hunting down these cryptids and creatures.
Basically, yeah.
I'm so excited by that idea. Oh my God.
Victorian London, the A-Team is what we would be wanting.
Yeah.
That sounds fucking cool.
And I was like, even if it like that, the Order 1886 cut to blacks, like that should be the title card.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I know that would be like a, 7-8 hour intro, but then like, okay, that might be asking for too much. Even if it's like a Dark Pictures anthology. I know those are like unrelated really, but some sort of like episodic drop of like the next installment. You know, that would have been amazing. Like, okay, cliffhanger until the next 8-hour experience in this universe where we come back and pick up however many months or years later with Grayson on the run or hunting down something. Like, we pick up with him mid-hunt in another far-flung location. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I guess I dropped the score.
Yeah.
Is this a good moment?
Yeah, hit me.
8.5.
I gave it a 7.5.
Okay. It's not a satisfying narrative. Like, we've kind of broken down that it ends abruptly. They don't do enough with the foundation that they've set. But my God, the foundation is so fucking good.
Yeah.
That I just can't help but rate it highly. This has been one of the most compelling worlds that I have jumped into in a long time. Like, this is up there with some of my favorite worlds in recent memory in a video game. I was full in with this Victorian London. Like, we've got creatures, we've got the fucking Tesla tech.
The Tesla tech.
Oh my God. The facial hair.
The facial hair.
Grayson. God damn it, Galahad. I just was saying it every 5 minutes. Like, he's the most fucking handsome guy I've ever seen him. Like, just the chops.
I am not kidding.
The stash.
There is a big part of me that wants to shave down to that in the near future just to see what it looks like on a normal human face.
I was like looking at him, and it's not even just his, this is visual stuff, so I don't want to say too much, but like their outfits, their uniforms are also just like so gloriously ornate and beautiful.
And
right?
individualized.
In the midst of just like, yes. And they have all this like great embroidery and like sort of like gilded like gold leaf and stuff, and it's fucking incredible. And it's like, I want a Galahad cosplay. I'll be like the one person at the whatever convention, and everyone's like, what are you? Like, Order 1886. Where are my fellow fans at? There's got to be others, right? There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Yeah, at least 30. So here's why I gave it a little bit lower score than you, I think.
Yeah.
One, I was pissed off at the fact that they could have done so much more with this.
Yeah.
So much more. I know it. But
and I totally agree.
The other thing is it really, really fucks with the entire concept of the Order to make all of them dirty. Like the Marquis, who in the end actually ends up taking the name of Sir Percival after Percival dies. But Lafayette is the only one who's like, I want you to know that I'm letting you go because I think that you are also for freedom. But if I ever find out that you're not for freedom, that'll be the day that I come for you. And it's like he gets it, but at the same time, he still is looking at this person that he has been working with for years, assumedly, and the trust is gone. And Igraine just like straight up turning on him.
That hurt.
At the drop of a hat.
That hurt.
Like, there were some character decisions that, while they fit the narrative, they didn't fit characterization, which I think is a pretty big mistake. Again, this is a short game. The entire experience is probably only 3 hours of gameplay and 8 hours total, maybe 10 hours total, because of all the cutscenes and QuickTime events. But I would say that you're only doing running and gunning and, like platforming and stuff for not even half the game.
Some of the chapters are literally just cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
14 total, I think it was.
15 or 16.
15.
I think it was.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think it was 16 with like Brothers in Arms or something like that.
Right.
But that's why I had to knock it down a point. Like, the world is exceptional and really cool, and I love the characters, but they made some decisions with characters that, to me, are simply made to fit a narrative to make Grayson a lone wolf by the end of it, to try to maybe set up a sequel that never happened. And That's really unfortunate for me. So I had to knock it down. I had to knock it down to a 7.5.
Fair. I totally get it. Igraine is one I kept waiting for the moment, like, oh, she's going to come around at some point, like, because there was such a history there. No. And in fact, it's surprising, like, how much, like, on his trail, on Grayson's trail, she is. Like, she is ruthless in the pursuit of him as a traitor, right? Like, she's, like, going through, like, she's, like, just behind him by the end of it, like, when he's saved from his jump, and, like, he's saved by Tesla after he, like, jumps into the Thames.
Yeah.
You know? And she's, like, ransacking the place where he was just down, like, he was here. You know, and I just felt like you get the conflict in Lafayette. You know, he runs into Grayson in that moment in the tavern, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm letting you go here. And I expected something like that, you know?
I expected anything. It
would have made sense.
Anything.
Yeah.
To give her some more depth, especially when, like, they seem to be lovers and Gray has saved her life 2 or 3 times in the video game that we played. Like, there should be a much bigger level of trust and assumedly love there. And instead she turns on him at the drop of a hat. If she would have come around, like, halfway, like into this traitoring a little bit, and then she witnesses him, like, straight up murder her brother, that would be compelling.
Yes, that's true.
Like, watch her dad give him the gun and say, you know what, I can't do this to my own adopted son or whatever. You have to do it, and never come back into London. And then she watches Gray pull the trigger. Like, that would set up a level of conflict against the Order and against Gray that would make Igraine a very complex character. And that's what I really wanted to see.
I was actually expecting that to happen too. Like, oh, she's going to walk in at this end scene with me pulling the trigger. Like, she's going to turn the corner and see what I've done. And, like, I thought up until that point, like, we should have some conflict within her. And then she's going to see that and assume the worst.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be justified in being on our trail. And, like, the next game that exists only in my mind would have, like, her pursuing us across the world. Like, it's a personal vendetta now, as opposed to simply just, she's also got the bonds of the Order, but then, like, an additional layer on top of that, right? Kind of like the way the original 2018, not the original, but, like, the 2018 God of War ends, and, like, you know, you go into Ragnarok without spoiling too much, but, you know, Freya, right?
Yeah.
Is on your shit. That kind of situation, I thought that would have been really satisfying. The one thing I'm wondering about, though, is, like, I think that's fair criticism, and I had the same takeaway. But I wonder if the roadmap for this narrative, like, if it were to go forward, like, she would waver. Like, if we had a longer narrative where, like, later on down the line, Igraine sort of, like, wavered in her assumptions or, like, loyalty to the Order, or started to maybe come around on Grayson and wonder if maybe he's telling the truth, right? Like, it would have maybe justified all this on the front end, where, like, she made a rash decision to just fully invest in her loyalty to the Order. Because you can kind of see, like, in Lafayette, right? Like, he's conflicted, but he votes guilty because he's the new guy. He's just assumed this role. And you find out that, like, oh, there are serious penalties. Like, Grayson, even after all his years of service, death, right? Traitor. So you see, like, the punishment that's hanging over all their heads, and also, like, this is what they live for, their loyalty to this organization. It's what they do. And so to see that you have a traitor in your midst, I can see, like, making a rash judgment. Like, I can't believe you would betray everything that we live for. Like, this is my reason for existing, to serve this Order, and for you to be a traitor, right? Like, to sort of make, like, a rash decision like that, to just,
I mean, I like
vote
that,
guilty.
but again, it doesn't fit her. Like, one of the first moments we have with Igraine, she is straight up saying, I can't keep doing this.
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
She's already wanting out. So what made her loyalty all of a sudden so fucking, you know, stringent?
That's a good point. Yep.
Like, she was ready to straight up leave with Gray. And now all of a sudden she's like, the Order is everything, you traitor, how dare you? And it's like, no, but not really. Like, come on.
I think it's too drastic. I think like where characters end up, I could accept if we had a little bit more like connective tissue there. So like the fact that Grayson is working with Lakshmi and the rebels and doesn't let Igraine in on it and doesn't trust her with those secrets, I think contributes to her like, you know, like she's maybe thinking like, we had something together, like you should have confided in me. And the fact that you didn't, like maybe you really are a traitor. Like I think you're right, but I guess I'm just trying to think a little bit more about like maybe why they chose to have her make that turn, and maybe that's a contributing factor.
Yeah, maybe. It didn't sit well with me.
It is a choice made for, we want the narrative to go this way. And I think also like thematically, right? That's the one thing I liked about it, is like we have a very strong sense of like class warfare. Like the enemy is this evil corporation, and we have scenes of like wandering the alleys, and you can like walk in on the rebels like burning, you know, elites in effigy or whatever, or they're hanging them at like a mock gallows, you know. And then like the idea of like the Order, at first you think like, oh, this sort of honorable great institution, and you know, the more you see of it, like, no, it's decrepit and full of corruption, and maybe has outlived its usefulness, or has now become like the thing it sought to fight in a lot of ways, you know. Like I like that take on it. And so I think a better characterization of Igraine is sacrificed in pursuit of making that thematic arc of a narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree
like,
completely.
The Order corrupts everyone that's a part of it. Lafayette wants to vote innocent. He votes guilty. You have like this personal bond, but that's sacrificed because she's tied to this decrepit institution. Even though it might not make a lot of sense on a character level. But I think all your criticisms are fair. I loved the world so much, and the opportunities and the potential of this world. And I agree, they are not utilized like they should be. It ends too abruptly. It's too short. We retread too much the same ground in terms of like some of the encounters we have, and like the final battle is such a nothing. And man, but like it hurts. It hurts so bad because like I'm not looking for more of this in my life. Like I'm over here like desperately wanting like a Mega Man Legends 3 or like other things. Like I waited over a decade for Shenmue 3. Like I don't want to be pining over another lost IP, but fuck me, I can't help it. Like now,
yeah,
in my soul, there's a part of me that's like, more than anything else, I want a return to the Order 1886. I want to return to this world, and I want it to be done right.
It's a bummer
because it is
a absolute bummer, man.
Because this is one of the, like, where we're doing adaptations. This is one of the most compelling, like on an adaptation level, like reinterpretations of the Arthur legend that I can imagine.
The reason I liked it so much is because of the fact that it's not just a reinterpretation. They do full on alternate history. If they tried to make it take place in, like you said, like an Edison timeline, I don't think I'd be in. If they tried to make it take place in our history, like cement it in our world, I think it'd be garbage. But the fact that they do a full alternate history, kind of Wolfenstein style, like makes it so much more compelling for me.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the last battle, and with the last battle, I want to go to gameplay.
Let's do it.
Hit me with your score.
6.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.
Okay. I wanted to give it a passing score because, okay, once you accept what the game is.
Shit, I'm sorry. I got to go back. I forgot something I'll be bringing up in a second. I've got to lower it to a 6. There's something that actually absolutely drove me batshit insane. So I've got to lower my score down 1.
Okay. Like a David Cage game, like a Heavy Rain or something like that, you know? Like, okay, you want to tell a story, you just want a cinematic experience, and you're going to try and justify the choice to make it a game as opposed to another piece of media. Even on that front, QTEs ain't great. I do like the sort of like moving your range of vision to find the QTE prompt, like
that one was kind of interesting.
And press that. It's something, but even like again, comparing it to a David Cage game where you have a lot of like loops and swirls of like the analog stick and like different kinds of button presses and prompts. Like, no, this is just hit X, hit square, maybe move your range of vision to find square and hit that, or tap X repeatedly because you got someone in like a grapple or you're moving a piece of heavy furniture. And that's about the extent of the QTEs, right?
Yeah, agreed.
And I don't like QTE games. Again, if the world is compelling enough, I will accept it for what it is for the sake of that narrative experience. But then the other bulk of this is that it's a cover shooter. And, like, it's repetitive. It never really adds a lot of depth to that mechanic. You get a lot of the same sorts of encounters again and again. And the only time you fight werewolves, I swear to God,
it sucks.
It's the exact same encounter. It's 3 werewolves in like the almost exact kind of layout of a room. Like you're in a basement or you're in some sort of like storage area where you have like different like pallets of things that like different pathways that werewolves could come from. They're always like,
all you have to do is back yourself into a corner and keep an eye on whatever route they're coming in. Like it's
the exact same encounter. It's the same number. It's 3 werewolves every time.
Yeah.
They did it 3 times. It's like, it wasn't even that great of an encounter the first time, and they thought it was so good they just give it to me 2 more times. Like, this sucks. But so it doesn't broaden or like recontextualize the mechanics or like add a lot of interest or depth to them as the game goes on. But the cover shooter, I guess, is where like I guess it gets the passing score because it feels pretty good. Like it can get a little kind of wonky if you're trying to like. If you're at like a corner of something and you're trying to move from one corner to the other and, I
was going to say, some of the traversal and movement is a little clunky for me.
Yeah, I agree. But the shooting felt good and the weapons were fucking awesome.
Okay, that actually brings up, did you have a favorite weapon that like, if you saw it, you were like, you could give me a fucking any other gun, but I'm keeping this bitch on me.
Okay. Top spot goes to both the TS-21 arc induction lance, the Tesla arc rifle,
yep,
and the thermite rifle. I loved both of those so much. I think the thermite is what I'd rather have on me because that thing is so fucking cool.
So I loved both those weapons. I liked the lightning cannon better for combat purposes, but my favorite weapon in the game, I think it was the MR22 Falchion battle rifle.
Okay.
Man,
yeah.
I don't know if it was the haptics for the PlayStation 5 controller, but that gun felt good to shoot. Like it ended up being my, if I could find one of those, I kept it, even if I had a thermite or an induction lance ready to go. I was like, you know what? If I can find ammunition for the Falchion, I'm keeping it. Because it took like 2 or 3 shots to bring down a normal rebel unless you could get a headshot, and they were down. Done. Easy peasy. And the sight was a little bit better than like the carbine, but there are probably,
I like the carbine pretty good.
There are probably only 10 weapons in this game.
Yeah.
You've got smoke grenades, frag grenades.
I never use those smoke grenades.
I did.
Like a couple times. I only use them poorly. I was like, fuck this. I'm just gonna go in shooting.
But yeah, I think the reason I dropped it down to a 6, it loses like 2 points, almost 2.5 points just for the QTE stuff. Like I don't mind QTE in video games. Like it's a pretty big deal in like one of my favorite video games of all time, Resident Evil 4. Like you get several QTE moments in that game. I'm fine with that. But there were entire chapters in this game that were just QTE. There was not a single boss fight that wasn't QTE.
Yeah. The final boss battle is just, and it's the exact same encounter you had with earlier.
With the other Elder Lycan. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wait for the moment to either do like a light or heavy strike, and then you like flip around to the other side of the Lycan and you wait for the opening and you do some button prompt QTE shit, and like that's it. You don't have any range of movement, and like that's the final battle. The final battle is just QTE shit. And again, it's a rehash of a previous battle. It's an unforgivable choice.
Yeah,
it sucks. It was so anticlimactic.
It was very frustrating. I mean, I would rather the final battle be like up against 2 or 3 of those armored shotgunners. Those guys can absolutely suck my butt.
Dude, yeah, like the heavily armored like knight enemies that would come in, right? Like
I didn't even know about Black Sight until those enemies. I didn't even know you could turn Black Sight on. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know why I had a bar down at the bottom. I was just going through playing the game because there's not really a tutorial when it comes to Black Sight.
They do. I mean, that's the thing. Like they do show it to you, and I used it a couple times, and then I also promptly forgot about it and never used it again.
I
just never went.
I think you're in the airship, and you encounter the knight for the knight enemy with the shotgun for the first time. He wrecked my shop like 12 or 13 times.
Is this you're like the spawn point is in like a dining area and you're trying to make it. That's a tough one because he charges you like there's like so many enemies right through that doorway, right?
Yeah.
And you try, like I kept trying to pick off more of them to give myself like some room to actually just take him on, just him. And sometimes you could knock out a few, and sometimes he would just come charging right away, and like it would just be a flood of all of them, and like that's just too much to take on. There's no good place to take cover.
Finally, I don't remember what happened, but like I thought to myself, like maybe I can zoom in on my aim or anything, and I hit L1 and it activated Black Sight, and it just like all the little targets that you could hit, and I just unload on them.
Very helpful.
And I was just like, oh shit, I can turn this off and on. I could have not died the rest of this game. Like,
yeah, I should have been using that because I got stuck there for a little bit. It's like I just had to be very aggressive and be quick and get him in the face a bunch and knock him out. Yeah, something like, man, some kind of encounter like that, almost like trying to fight like a big daddy in BioShock.
Yeah.
And just like a situation like that where there's a lot of places to take cover, but you got to run and be on the move and you got this big tanky enemy or something. But no, just QTE. That's our final battle. Quick thought. The reason also that it needs to be like right there at the cusp of failing. The game is primarily cover shooter. Again, when you see enemies coming your way, the game wants you to find cover and then duck down, find an opening, shoot the enemies coming your way.
Yep.
That's ingrained into you until these certain chapters that hit every once in a while where just suddenly they take that mechanic away from you for no discernible reason.
Yeah.
Like going through some of the tunnels and like you just can't take cover.
Yeah.
Like why? I could theoretically take cover behind this rock outcropping or this like bit of debris here. No, just we don't want you to do that here, so you're not going to do it. But we still want you to like engage in like a firefight here, but just don't think you're going to take cover. We suddenly don't want you to do that.
I agree that is egregious and bad, but I have to take that and throw at you the one chapter where you actually get to do fun stealth shit. Like
that, yeah.
When you're breaking into when you're breaking into the United India Trading Company house with Lucan, and you get the silent crossbow, and you have to go through all of the gardens and like silently kill people, and that was
very fun.
That was a good fucking time. Like
it was.
Give me a whole game like that. Oh, so good.
Yeah, that should have been top of mind. I felt like the airship also had some pretty good stealth for a little bit there.
Yeah.
It wasn't as like we didn't have the crossbow, I don't think, right? No, because you only get it in that.
You only get it in that one area. Yeah. Which again, wildly frustrating. They had so many cool little mechanics that you get to see one time and then they're never revisited.
Yeah, and they were fun. That's why like I didn't want to fail it because like again, a lot of these cover shooter segments, they kind of get repetitive. But I was still having fun in them, and I liked the odd, like, sort of sniper rifle segment. Like, those were good. Again, the gunplay felt good. The stealth was very fun. It's just like, yeah, they don't seize any of these mechanics and really, like, expand on them. It's, again, like, you're getting, like, 101 stealth, 101 cover shooter for the entire game, and just, like, we mix up which one you're going to engage with, but, like, we don't actually take any of these and expand it or, like, reinterpret it in an interesting way or, like, add any kind of interesting complexity to it, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
And that's the problem. But I still had a pretty good time. I'm not gonna lie. It was really just like a good world and a good set of characters and a compelling narrative can really keep me invested in something, even if like if this were like what a typical cover shooter is, if it was like military themed or some shit, like I would have been out hours before. I would have had zero interest in this game.
Chapter 2, Chapter 3, I'd be cashing out pretty hard.
Yep.
Okay, let's move to visuals. What do you think?
I gave it a 10.
I gave it a 9.5.
Yeah. It could be released today, and I would still be like, damn, this is a pretty game. Again, 10 years, an entire decade has passed. Like, this is a showpiece. It was, and it continues to be for the PlayStation 4. It wasn't just like the visual fidelity. Again, we sacrificed all that player agency and control to give you a very pretty game. But hey, you know what? I can't say it was a good choice, but you are certainly making a compelling argument for at least like having an experience like this because it's so fucking pretty. And it's not even just like the level of fidelity. It's, again, there's a reason it took me more than the usual, like the how long to beat time to get through this, is because like I was lingering in rooms just looking at every asset or piece of furniture, the fainting sofas with like the fine embroidery and like the tapestries and the art on the wall and the little knickknacks on the shelves and the fine woodworking, and just looking over like this industrial revolution, like smog in the skies over London and like the airships, like the zeppelins floating in the background. Like, God, I love this. The airship itself, awesome. And the scene, like you're running along the exterior. You have like all the lifeboats deploying with the parachutes as like people are evacuating the airship. Like that was fucking beautiful. I loved it.
The only thing I have to add to that, honestly, other than the facial hair, was so good.
Oh my God.
Instead of it just being in cutscene or like in your normal shit, even during gunfights, something that I regularly complain about when it comes to video games that have a hardcore shooter element is a lot of times you can't tell what weapon you're picking up versus what weapon you're not. Like, every weapon is so distinct and rendered well, where if you come into an armory room, you don't have to walk up to a gun to see what it is. No, you just look at it and you're like, okay, that is the machine gun, that's the rifle, there's the sniper rifle, there's my falchion, there's the the lance, and there's the grenade launcher or whatever. And it just feels so good to have a game that renders that so carefully. And on a more personal note, their uniforms and their individual swords. Their swords are more like a kukri, like a weighted like chopping blade that they keep at the small of their back. But I don't know if you noticed, each one has a vaguely different shape, an entirely different hilt, and a different sheath. Like, they are personalized weapons, lightsaber style. So
fucking cool.
So cool. And just little notes, like they all wear collars, like a knight would wear to cover up, like to go underneath a breastplate. So they have like metal collars on under their uniforms, and like Igraine's has lace that comes up just right out of the top of it, just to make her a little bit more feminine. And everybody has individual military style uniforms that have just notes of personalization. Like Lafayette's is just a little more like metropolitan European, and Gray's is pretty like utilitarian. And then the original Percival's is like a lot more gilded because he's been in the order for longer, you would assume. It's just, it is so pretty and so interesting and so fun to look at.
Yeah, I know you brought up the character issues, which I agree with, but as it like on a character design level, easy 10 out of 10. Like these are
no notes.
It's kind of astounding to me. Like, part of me was like, when I went to give it a 10, like, do I really want to give this a 10? Because like it's a lot of like dismal gray, like kind of samey environments, but like no, I didn't feel that way going through it, and it was very appropriate for the setting and the tone and the story they're telling. And you do have these great moments of like being on the Zeppelin, and like a change in environment, and some of these like warm, like lit by fireplace, sort of like cozy internal environments as well, as opposed to like contrasted with like the grime of like 1886 London, in the alleys and the streets. And then like the Tesla weaponry within that, like these sort of like flashes of interesting, wild technologies that would seem sort of ill-fitting for the time period and setting, because we're not in that timeline, but they perfectly feel incorporated into the world. Everything feels like it could exist in this like technological environment.
Agreed.
And you have the character of Tesla that's sort of built around where like he justifies anything that might seem like it's a little too technologically advanced. It's like, well, because we have the greatest scientific mind of our generation here building weaponry for us. So of course. And man, like I was in this world the entire time I was in this game. Every time I loaded it up, I'm back in Victorian London. I'm like, the game doesn't let you wander very much. It's very linear, but when I could like just turn an alley and find like a pasted up advertisement for Steven and Sons cigarettes, or, like find a newspaper and read all the articles about like the Jack the Ripper killings, or like just the tumult of like the times, whatever it is, like government policy, trade disputes, like the United India Company, shit like that. On that front, it was a little frustrating that like I would always choose to read the lore like organically if I can. Like I want to read the letter in the handwriting in which it's written, or the newspaper, just like I want to read it on screen. But usually games will give you like the option to have like a text overlay, like hit square or something and like pull up a transcription of it, because it's kind of hard to read, especially some of this like cursive font.
Yeah.
You're finding some of these letters and there's no option for a text overlay. So like, fuck, I don't know what that word is. I cannot make that out. I guess I'm not going to know what they said in that correspondence because they didn't do that for me.
Yeah.
Like that's a very egregious like accessibility oversight. And it's kind of wild to like see that, like, yeah, it's a 10-year-old game, but like you should have had that. It's kind of wild that they didn't. But yeah, I was just I was overwhelmed with like how good this game looked visually.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I loved
Stunning.
every aspect of the design.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What do you think about sound?
I gave it a 9. How about you?
I gave it an 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. I think we talked about this with maybe Alone in the Dark. I can't tell if it's a setting on my PlayStation or if it's just like the PlayStation 5 version of it, but I got some weird dialogue sound effect like equalizer issues. Like during some cutscenes, I wasn't able to hear everything they were saying. I would hear music too loud or something like that, and so I had to like mess with levels.
Gotcha.
But I also wasn't super happy with some of the weapon sounds.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. That's it. Like those are my only two gripes, really. Like the voice acting is spectacular. Tesla is played by Spider-Man himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say Yuri Lowenthal is in the house. Good stuff.
Half the cast of Critical Role is in this game. Graham McTavish.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Oh my God, what's his name? O'Brien. Liam O'Brien and Laura Bailey are both in this game.
I did see Laura Bailey. Yeah. Okay.
Graham McTavish plays Sebastian. Graham McTavish from Outlander, and
I
mean he's a big name. Just good times across the board.
Yeah, I thought the voice acting was stellar. I like on the cinematic front, aside from our previously discussed like narrative level things, like, oh man, as a movie, I was in the whole time. I loved it. It was so well told, so well like staged and performed, and the sound was a big contributing factor to that. I really liked the score. I liked the main theme.
Yeah,
you got these like sort of somber, creaky strings and like the longing in the violins. It's like perfectly. It fits the tone of the world. It's like haunting, and kind of foreboding, especially when like the male choir hits and like the swell of the music. And you have that main theme that's sort of like filtered through melodies and like the background instrumentation and like other parts of the score. But I mean, some of them are like really intense and driving, and some of them are more just like somber and, you know, reined in a little bit. But I felt like the music constantly reinforced and intensified, or intensified like the momentary action, or helped add character to the world. It was great.
I mean, I'm being nitpicky here, but it's basically keeping it from being a 9 or a 10. I hated how the werewolves sounded. I hated it so much. Like, you could have done so much more. Like,
I wasn't crazy about anything with the werewolves, really. I like the idea of the werewolves, but they're not particularly good looking or sounding werewolves. No, to me.
No. So
they're not memorable. Same with the vampire. Like, you're the one vampire you kind of see in full, like,
yeah, it was fine. It was kind of cliche-y, but yeah. I just it hit me. I was like, why am I not giving this an 8.5? And then I was like, oh, right, it's the sounds the werewolves make that were just fucking nails on a chalkboard for me. That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up with fun factor.
Yeah. All right. Am I going first?
Yeah, sure.
Again, if you give me the reason I seek out games, it's fun to see numbers go up. It's fun to, I don't know, like hone your skill set and like master a set of mechanics and overcome a challenge. But the primary reason why it's my favorite art form, medium of entertainment, and the reason I keep coming back is because I love just being in a different world. I love being fully immersed in a strange, alien, interesting world that I can't experience in my own personal reality. And if you give me that, I will overlook a lot. So, no, I didn't like the gameplay. I had issues with many parts of this game, but fuck me. I loved being in this world so much. I had a lot of fun. I'm giving it a 9.
I am giving it an 8.5.
All right.
I same thing. Like, I have some nitpicky stuff here and there. Some stuff about like some of the cover issues. Like, if you launch yourself out of cover, you can't immediately jump back into cover. And like, there's some gameplay stuff and figuring out the black site mechanic and, you know, little bitty things like that. But the entire time I'm playing this game, all I can think about is, fuck me, this is cool. Like, oh my God, this is a cool game.
Yeah, I was like, man, this encounter kind of sucks. Or, I can't believe they're doing this QTE again. That's kind of a bummer, but I can't wait to see what's next. It might be more of this. It's probably more of the same. I don't care. Bring it on. I want to see what happens to these characters. I didn't want to stop playing the game at any point. Like, I was fully invested in the narrative and in the world, and that's a hell of a lot of fun. And again, like, it really is. Like, I don't want to see this game. I don't want to see a sequel to this game in this style, but I want to see this world return to.
Yeah.
More than many other games now. It is now like made a case for itself to be at the top of my personal list of like most wanted return to IPs. I really had fun.
I can definitely see myself replaying this at some point in the future just to jump back into the world for a little bit. Like, it is a very fun world. And I think playing it as a narrative and as like a world building experience, as opposed to playing it as QTE and like a cover shooter, it's fun. Like we talked about the gunplay being a pretty good time, and the QTE kind of suck in here and there. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, you said it well, like, this immerses you in maybe one of the coolest worlds I've played in a video game.
Yeah.
With some of the coolest characters. Like,
yeah,
they absolutely did Igraine dirty. But up until that point, she was really, really interesting.
It's kind of amazing, like, how individualized they all felt in this very short narrative experience and these sort of fleeting interactions, but like, I mean, facial hair can really
it works.
Facial hair can do a lot. Those are load-bearing beards.
God.
And braids for a grain.
And braids for her. She had some Princess Leia action going on.
A little bit, yeah. You know, I mean, if the facial hair situation is going to be so good on the one side, like we gotta braid it up on the other.
Yeah, we
sure.
really got to do some crazy shit to her hair, Daenerys Targaryen style.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we need in the sequel that we'll never get. Grayson years later, and he's just got like braided beards. Oh, he's we got Barrett Wallace in Advent Children kind of situation, just full fishnet.
Don't do
just
that.
Like he just stepped off the cruise.
What have you done to my beautiful boy?
Oh, it's gonna be great. Can't wait.
I had a great time playing this game. Like, there are some things that pissed me off about it, but most of the things that pissed me off about it were because they were doing something that I didn't think a character would do, or if it was making gameplay just slightly inconvenient. But the bursts of actual gameplay are so sporadic where you can't be pissed off if it messes with you for long, because you're going to watch 30 minutes of cutscenes and they're going to be really, really cool and really pretty.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of feeling the opposite of you, where I feel like I would sour on this game and feel more negatively about it if I were to play it again. Like, as a one and done, like one experience to run through, maybe years down the line if I felt kind of like nostalgic for it. But like, because it all is like fresh and new and like, yeah, this is repetitive already, like in one playthrough, but I'm so invested in where we're going. I want to see how this all shakes out that I'll look past it. But like, if I knew where everything is going to end up and like I'm going back through this world and being reminded of like how contained I am, how much I got to stay on this very narrow linear pathway and I can't really explore. And the action is not organic. It's like these kind of scripted, cover shooter moments, and then you move on. I would really feel it in a more negative way going back through again.
Yeah, I get that.
For sure. But I feel like it's the ultimate rental. And I think anyone who hasn't played it, but has listened this far anyway, and heard all the spoilers, I feel like it's still worth going through.
Yeah, it's a
really
really good time.
It's a valuable piece of art. I think it is a showpiece. I think it's a great thing to like have. You think about those PlayStation exclusives. This is a PlayStation exclusive. And I think it's a cool thing to like have in your stable of IPs. I wish they were doing something with that stable instead of just like letting the horse rot away in its pen.
This game
starved.
This game has just become glue. Like,
yeah. But definitely worth playing.
I mean, honestly,
and watching.
The takeaway from this is, one, yes, obviously source this. But two,
for sure.
Support indie games, for Christ's sake. Like, sometimes they're going to throw something at you where you're like, oh, this looks ridiculous. But then you play it and you're like, oh my God, this has literally transported me to the coolest version of Victorian England I've ever experienced.
So, Math Boy.
It got an 82.
What do we got?
82.
A B. To me, this is a solid low B of a game, for sure.
Yeah. I think the score is accurate here.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Man, the things I like, I really like.
Yeah, agreed. And that brings us to housekeeping.
That brings us to the end of...
Arthur.
The end of the round table. Wait, no, the round table doesn't have ends. That's the whole point.
Oh, There's
no point. That's the point.
Now we're going to hop on a boat to Avalon and reawaken when we are needed again. The once and future source not found. But yeah, that's Arthur. What do you think? All in all.
All in all?
All in all.
I think this has been one of my favorite topics that we've chosen to cover. I feel like I would be happy doing another month or two on this because there's so much more. I feel like we can even return to it someday. And
yeah, maybe we'll take a re-gander down the line at some point.
I liked month 2 much more than month 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better choices in April, for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But we are not continuing Arthur.
No, we're not.
Although, Arthur, legendary character, hero with 1,000 faces, hero's journey.
He's a knight.
Our connective tissue to
the Jedi Knights.
There we go. There it is.
I got.
And you mentioned lightsabers earlier.
I got segues, baby.
That was our segue.
Yeah. I got them for days.
You got them. I mean, I got them too, but they're not good. You don't want to hear them. You don't want to hear them.
We're gonna jump into Star Wars next month.
May the 4th and all the other days after that
be with us.
Be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you have any like beloved Star Wars video games you've played, or ideas about various and sundry other products, books, comic books, movies, TV shows, etc., drop us an email at sourcenotfoundpod@gmail.com. Drop us a line on Blue Sky. We're sourcenotfoundpod. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Reach out. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. And, definitely go by our YouTube channel. Check out all of the past playthroughs from Twitch that Brand has played, as well as our archive of backlogged episodes. And speaking of Twitch,
1886 is up there.
I cannot wait to watch this because I'm pretty sure it's just going to be you gushing about rendered embroidery on fainting couches.
It's me misunderstanding the relationship between Galahad and Igraine, and then saying, God, Galahad is handsome.
Yeah.
Just many, many times.
Fair.
For 11 hours.
Love that for your viewers and for you. But now that Order's done, what are you playing on Twitch now?
Right now, I'm still in like freedom mode. I'm just kind of playing whatever because I did 3 months of jank and I'm no longer beholden to that. So I'm just like, wherever the wind takes me. But speaking of Star Wars, May all Star Wars month here on this show. Twitch, I'll be doing some of that too. So come on by May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'll be doing like a Star Wars roundup, like different games. We'll, I don't know, spin a wheel or something. I haven't decided yet, but playing a bunch of like follower chosen and like personal interest picks of like random Star Wars games because there are quite a few of those actually. This is kind of like a big IP.
Huh. Surprised.
Kind of a lot there. Yeah. I mean, you might not have delved into it before, but have you like several decades worth of
Have you heard
material.
of these Star Wars? Have you heard of these guys? Have you heard of these guys?
Thinking about that Arrested Development line. Here's like $10. Go see a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I mean, if you haven't jumped into the Patreon and you can't get enough Star Wars, May is all Star Wars, even our Patreon episode, which will be a Phobia-goria from yours truly.
Let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that. Let's just say I have a scarring, traumatic early childhood memory involving a Star Wars. Which one is it? I don't know. I mean, I know, but you don't know. But you could know.
Just so funny.
If you paid us.
Like, I know we've done a lot of my Phobia-goria shit because I'm a scared little boy all the time, but this one is absolutely unhinged.
I was like 5.
I was so excited to cover
How old
that.
were you when you saw The Ring? You were scared of a television.
Yeah, I was.
And
the woman inside of it, Brandon.
I mean, it's scary, but I feel like I'm more justified as a 5-year-old being scared of fill in the blank.
Anything.
Not gonna tell you. You thought I was going to. Nope. Anyway, YouTube. Twitch.tv/LegionBug. But back to YouTube. I'm good at these segue things. That is also where you can check out, in addition to our archive shows and playthroughs that are done on Twitch of games we've covered, Saint Silicanth, Jesse Jelena, architect of our theme song, has been, I'm sort of astounded at how productive he's been over the last couple months. Like, there's so much new fucking music and it's so fucking good. It's just a flood of tracks. Go check them out. Seriously, link down in the show notes. Really good shit.
Love that. And we would be remiss if we didn't say thank you to our beloved patrons.
We would be remiss for 2 months running.
2 months running. We're the worst.
Thank you so much to 13th Horseman, Frederick Vieberg Vorhawk, Susie Daggs, Jacob Swindell, and Joey Bishop.
Friendship.
And with that, we end the episode, and we end our month-long examination of King Arthur. Brando, I really appreciate you giving me this one, man. Like, I've really enjoyed it. Like,
I really enjoyed it.
I'm leaping back in head first to some weird King Arthur like novels and books and shit. Like, it's
oh hell yeah.
I'm taking some deep dives. But I think the thing that's gonna get me the most is I want to dream about Galahad tonight and go for a mustache ride.
Yeah, I don't know if I had a closer. I'm just thinking about Galahad.
I know, it's so good.
Oh my god, between this and the crossfade of old Sam Neill Dong and young Sam Neill Dong superimposed over one another.
The beauty that is Sam Neill's Merlin partnered with the beauty that is this Galahad, that is that's a round table that I'd like to sit at. I would share a meal at that round table.
Don't check your toilet for that, because if you do, it's going to be like Narcissus. You're just going to have to like
stare at it.
You're going to feel compelled to just dive down into the drain, drown yourself, chasing after that one.
But do check your toilet for kind of gross looking werewolves that weren't really used correctly, and they're just kind of sad.
Galahad.
I've never heard you wistful before.
Gotta go.